Well, to quote the great philosopher Eminem, guess who's back? Back again.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
Donald Trump, man of the people, courageous fighter against the elites. That's what he presents himself, of course, and his followers. Pesky facts like him being a billionaire, the son of a millionaire, alas, has not managed to sink that narrative. Today was his big day, the inauguration, attending with pride of place, of course, the richest men on earth. Not just the richest men on earth now, but the richest men in the history of our species. Elon Musk, worth $434 billion. Jeff Bezos, worth nearly $240 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, worth $212 billion. Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO, is only just a billionaire, so he was the relative pauper on show, just to show, you know, he wasn't just in the pockets of the very rich. Got ordinary folk like only just billionaires. There was also Miriam Adelson, an Israeli-American billionaire who donated $100 million to Donald Trump's campaign, described by Itai Epstein, an Israeli expert in international humanitarian law, as follows. Widow of gambling profiteer Sheldon Adelson, a key donor to the Trump campaign and rabid supporter of Israel's annexation of occupied Palestinian territory and the subjugation of Palestinians. Very little else needs to be said. Their presence, of course, matters because it's these billionaires Trump will fight for. They expose what so-called right-wing populism is about, pretending to fight for the little guy, but instead standing for plutocrats who want to crush the little guy. It's a US rigged in favour of plutocrats like this, which, of course, has plunged the country into crisis, not the targets favoured by Donald Trump and his allies. He talked in his inauguration of a radical and corrupt establishment, but those are exactly the plutocrats behind it.
As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair.
Indeed, as journalist Lee Fang put it, over the next decade, Silicon Valley will replace blue and white collar workers with AI and outsource more jobs overseas. Truckers, designers, engineers, lawyers, and far more. Power will flow to the dozen tech overlords standing next to Trump at his inauguration. Ominous optics. Now, before we look at Trump's inauguration in more detail, let's hear what Joe Biden had to say about all of this in his final address.
That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to.
Well, a bit late for that from Genocide Joe, denouncing the dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. What did he, Obama, and the Democrats do about it when they had the chance? Congress is dominated by millionaires, at the very least, with wealth far beyond the reach of most Americans. Corporate money dominates politics, including in the Democratic Party. The world's richest 500 people, dominated by Americans, ended 2024 with a combined nearly $10 trillion between them. Meanwhile, wages have stagnated for millions of American workers, driving political disillusionment that, alas, Trump and his ilk have exploited. Now, Trump's big target, of course, was migrants, or millions of criminal aliens, as he put it. No evidence provided for his claim of large numbers of these migrants being dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions.
Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. all illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before.
Now, the actual research finds that increases in immigration don't cause a drop in wages for US-born workers or take their jobs. The presence of migrants boosts economic activity as well as productivity, which drives up wages. It's the US elites, on the other hand, who attack already decimated labour unions, who send American jobs overseas and drive economic crises with their greed, like the 2008 financial crash. Now, Trump talks of being a peacemaker, but wants to go to war with Panama, essentially, with baseless claims that the Panama Canal is being operated by China and that this is going to be taken by the US.
And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
He also declared he'd rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. He should ask his pal Elon Musk how successful the effort to rename Twitter X has gone, as a little precedent for him. As dark as his inauguration speech was, his subsequent speech to supporters was darker still, largely attacking various foes of his like Nancy Pelosi and defending what he describes as the January 6th hostages, that is those who took part in the insurrection which attempted to overturn the election results back in 2021.
That Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, where they literally, I mean, what they did is they destroyed and deleted all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500, and it would have stopped. Because we may have had 1 million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. But you don't see those photographs. They don't put them in. They show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, how about now in front of the...
Well, it should be noted who is particularly happy right now, other than those plutocrats, and that's the far right. That's the literal, inarguable far right. The far right militia, the Proud Boys, marched triumphantly through Washington, D.C.
1% on the top. Fuck Joe Biden! Fuck Joe Biden! Joe Biden!
So what happens next? Trump will drive policies which will favour the wealthy plutocrats standing by him at his inauguration. He will try and win over those who are struggling not with actual answers to their material problems, but by redirecting all the anger at migrants and other powerless groups of people, like trans people, who he also gunned for as well. the Democrats will undoubtedly roll over? Well, the answer, of course, is to build movements based on economic justice, which hammer an administration which is of the rich, for the rich, and by the rich. The problem, of course, is American democracy is imperiled, and the now vengeful, more extreme Trump will do all he can to smash such movements. And he's going to be helped by the tech bros behind him, who will also do all they can to rig the algorithms in favour of his people and against those. So, a long 4 years, and it's going to take guts and determination to fight back. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, help us offer a alternative to the broken mainstream media at patreon.com/ownjazz84. Listen to the podcast. I'll speak to you in a bit.